Welcome back to the Aqua Pod and what is our last episode of 2024. We speak with outgoing Scottish Swimming CEO Euan Lowe as we look back on his 5 year tenure at the helm of the organisation. We hope you enjoy the conversation. So I'm delighted to be joined on the Aqua Pod by Scottish Swimming CEO Euan Lowe. Finally on the podcast. It's taken 11 episodes, but we've got there. But yeah, great to have you on, Euan, in your kind of last few weeks in the role. How are things for you at the minute?
Well, thanks for giving me a wee bit of airtime, giving a wee chance to have a wee conversation with you, Charlie. It's well, I do. We've got not too many more days left before I'm sadly leaving Scottish swimming, but there's plenty to do in the run up to Christmas. So as ever with quite a few of us across swimming, there's quite a try to squeeze the last few things into the end of the year and before we start looking at all the exciting things for the next one. But yeah, it'll be a good run into the end, I think, hopefully.
And definitely not a quiet run in.
Well, it's just we're just on the back of lots of events, aren't we? So, which is
Yep.
great to see. I always think they're fantastic events at this time of year. Good profile, good atmosphere, lots of people enjoying themselves, whether that be parents or swimmers themselves, even the coaches. And the
Yeah,
officials seem to be quite enjoying themselves, which is fantastic to see. So that does make for a bit of a busy run in. And yeah, I mean, just with myself, I'm in the midst of doing some handover bits with John Lunn before he starts on the 6th of January. So it's beneficial to get some time with him. So that's just making it a little bit of a busy run in. But what changes across the year? You know what it's like, Charlie. It's busy for us at most points of the year.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is always a busy period, isn't it, Euan? So, when you're in the midst of a handover and all the kind of other stuff going on, it's probably especially busy. But it's always fun, isn't it? So, well, you brought it up there, obviously, and people probably will know by now, but if they don't, you're leaving your role as CEO of Scottish Swimming after 5 years. Probably feels like longer than that, to be honest. But I wonder if you want to kind of take us back to 5 years ago in 2019. Like I say, probably feels a lifetime ago. What was the kind of draw to swimming at that point, and what what was the kind of initial thoughts when you came in, and what you kind of wanted to influence and try and achieve in that time?
It's a great question, and I have asked myself that same question a few times: is why did I move to Scottish swimming? And in lots of ways, it's pretty obvious and equally daunting, I would say, at the same time coming in to see it like that, because I I think I mean my background. I've worked in a variety of different sports for years beforehand. I've worked in Sports Scotland, and you get an idea of the kind of wider sporting landscape. And I think it's thinking when you get closer in amongst working with the different sports and so on, it's there's maybe a few things taken for granted how great it all is, and how
Mm.
I was going to use the word mature, but well developed, and how progressive the entirety of the sport is. Yes, there's always stuff to be done, and yes, there's always things you would like to do differently collectively. That is not just from us as Scottish swimming, but across all sport. But so, I mean, some of the ambitions there when you begin to realise it's from a membership point of view, in comparison to some other what deemed to be larger sports because of membership numbers, we're not that high in terms of membership numbers compared to some of the whether you want to call it your footballs, your rugbies, or these sort of sports. But when you begin to
Hmm.
recognise the reach that swimming in general has got and the difference it makes to people, it's a big sport. And I mean that from point of view of all the stuff that we all work on, from learn to swim, the strength and depth of the different variety of clubs all over the different parts of the country. But I'm always very conscious of, and the lines that have been, some people have heard it in different platforms before, of there's not many sports where you can start your journey at the very beginning, very first stages of getting involved in a sport, dipping your toe in the water to go and learn to swim, stay in Scotland, do your club piece, love your whole experience around all of it, and then end up, if that's where you want to go to, genuinely producing world class performances, and not just performances but medal winning performances. That doesn't happen in many sports. So you put it in context. That's a big sport. That's a
Yeah.
big sport to come into. So it was why did you want to get involved in that? Because it's a big sport. It's a great sport to work in, and it's easier to say once you've come from somewhere else, you come into it,
absolutely.
you can recognise that. And it's even easier for me to say that now I'm leaving because it's it's so there's a when I left, previously I worked in gymnastics, and lots of good things happening there, and lots of things I wanted to do, and still wanted to help support and develop. But the opportunities when it comes across to work in a big sport like swimming don't come across that often. So I thought I'll give that a go. You never know. So we give it a go, and we get the opportunity to do it. But it was quite interesting. I think I was very conscious coming in. I think, would you take a sport like this that's already so developed and mature, progressing, delivering very well, strong relationships up and down the country, clearly very well developed systems at the performance side, but equally serving a lot of members who just want to be involved in swimming. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Team was great and strong, and then so you had in your mind, if you think, okay, I'll just have a wee set moment and we'll have a chance to have a think of, I did have a few things in mind I thought we maybe want to move forward, particularly in amongst the relationships, the importance of that learn to swim piece and strengthening the club structures to support that. Definitely one of them. The performance side of things was probably well developed. I was mindful of making it more integrated in a collective conversation, that we're not just learn to swim and not just performance and not just clubs. It was the sport in itself needs to talk about the connected system more often than it does. It was a daunting start for me because Forbes is where is he now? He's now chief exec of the national agency. So you think, he's done some good things for the sport. You're thinking, don't want to get this wrong.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully I haven't. I don't know.
No, well,
some people will judge.
You mentioned Forbes is quite a big shoes to fill. Also, you were coming in at a time where we didn't know what was around the corner, and the kind of C word, the COVID, was less than a year into your role as CEO kind of beginning. How quickly did you need to then amend your sort of, you're coming into this sport, which you just talked about there, is a big sport, and you've got grand ideas, grand plans, but you're delivered this sort of plate of like rubbish of COVID and these challenges. How difficult was that to kind of deal with, just when you're just starting to meet people and get your foot in the door and try and move these things forward, and this happens?
Well, there's a thing in itself, Charlie. Just you saying, getting to know people, and that's people that have spoken to and hopefully recognise. I feel like I'm a people person. I feel that's one of my strengths, is to get involved in that. It's important to me, that personal connect, relationships and people dynamic. And so because it literally wasn't the first 6 months of me being in post, you're busy trying to get out and about and meet people, and even including getting to know the team well enough. And then to your point of, well, I suppose it's somebody don't, we maybe not, some of the things in my role are not that exciting at various points, and some people might get excited about audit and risk committees, but that was one of the things. I was about to get and speak to the chair. I was up in Aberdeen, and it was around this time you get the murmurs around, this C word, the COVID things around, and we were in a few meetings up there in Aberdeen. A few people were talking about not knowing what to expect, and then I was meant to meet up with the audit and risk committee chair, to get up to know and talk about agendas for the next thing, and I literally had to phone him and say, sorry, I'm in Aberdeen, but we were meant to meet, but I just can't. I'm not going to meet because this thing called COVID's arrived, and I'm not sure what it is or what it means.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there finding only place to get online in some supermarket somewhere up in Aberdeen. I was there till it was just about shutting, trying to sort all this out. And then before you know it, well, what do you do next? What do you do next? So I didn't know that many people that well in the sport. The team was still pretty, get to know, and then you're flung into this, as we all know now, you're sitting at home, online. So that changed things massively. So, and that just changed everything about direction. At that point, it was, listen, the sole focus was how do we get ourselves back in the water safely, which brought a whole lot of different things and different experiences. In many ways, I think it certainly internally brought the team together in a different way for a different purpose. It was good to see people working in a different way, that nobody knew what the heck we're getting ourselves into, or somebody else had gotten themselves into, but we had to find a way through it. So was a learning experience, I think, for all. Learning experience for me as well. That's, I suppose, some of my roles have, you got to do leadership things. So trying to step into that place and trying to lead when you don't know what the outcome is going to be at the end of it is a tough one. But I was just hugely appreciative of that time with the sport, from everybody across the sport, even our partners down south, some of the Sports Scotland themselves, some of that discussions we had with government, whilst it maybe felt painful at the time, and maybe people were suggesting we weren't moving as quickly as we might have been able to. But I think as a sport, we responded pretty well and in a fair way, without banging the drum too loudly and upsetting people about just how do we get people back into the water quickly. And I mean, that, if you remember back, God, to try and remember back where it all started, it was some of that came about because we were able to get from partnership working, and just because of good organisation, good people within it, and good sport to work with, we were able to open the doors quite early, or early-ish, for some of the performance guys, which then led to, I'm going to use the word protocols. Remember the protocols?
Yeah.
That then developed the protocols to allow us to get back in. So it was a tough one. And it only feels in the last year and a half, Charlie, that it feels like we're getting back to things we would like to do, as opposed to getting beyond where we were.
I guess even... you have the initial reopening and things like that, but actually it's the kind of the knock on, isn't it? Even at an international level, in terms of world championships and things, have only now actually started to fall back into sync. After that, just as one example, and our sport is primarily done inside, so that was always going to be a challenge to try and mix that with a global pandemic. So I guess on the whole, actually, we're probably in a strong place. Thanks to the sort of early moves to get people back into the water and things, but definitely a difficult task. And how do you kind of look back on that and how it all played out in the end, and the kind of challenges following on from that in terms of reopening and kind of facilities as well, and the sort of knock-on impact of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was I'd say it was a learning and strengthening journey for all, I think, hopefully across the sport as well, because there were lots of comments we were getting back from various different partners about the response from clubs in particular, and how respectfully they were dealing with some of the challenge we just said about progressively opening up. This is just the COVID time, remember, the pandemic piece. So you took that as great encouragement, and I suppose from an ambition and providing that plan, the strategic outlook we've got, where do we want to take the sports, where can we take the sports now, it was literally pretty challenging, and that you could only go one little step and then review one little step. We literally had a 1-year plan, and then see how far that takes us, and then we review again, and amongst all of setting a direction of what we can do. But it was pretty much recovery stage at that point, because a lot of the memberships had gone for all sorts of reasons. There was big changes in the volunteer base, which you can totally entirely understand, considering all that we're having to deal with at that time. So but that formulated a lot of the direction of travel in, round with the reviews we had back. If we reset that corporate plan, we got some feedback from members and clubs and coaches and parents and whatnot about where we should focus, and the message was pretty clear and pretty solid of where we need to go, which has resulted in the direction of travel we do have now. Very much a bit of rebuild, but equally not without its ambition. I thought it was quite healthy from the sport of, we don't just want to recover, we still want to develop and grow. Come on, let's do some new things. So that was great, and that's all good, which is, some of the things we've got in place now is, I think, are decent steps, from whether they be some of the work that's ongoing in around the young ambassadors, some of the Aqua Mark design, some of the volunteering strategy we got to, you put in amongst the quality of teachers and coaches. That was all kind of starting, but really kind of matured in clarity, I thought, through that COVID period, just so we could get back in. And then, as we all know, then all the rest of the stuff going around, the rest of the economic crises around the world as well, which then flings another spanner in the works for just when you think you've got solid plans. And the Save Our Pools campaign came about close in the back of all of this.
Yeah, I was just going to go on to that, to be honest, Stu, and it's the kind of natural transition. The two London buses, you go through one sort of crisis and into another. Save Our Pools started, I think, with a conversation with all the home nations and how we're going to combat this. But I think we were pretty early adopters and in the development of that, and kind of how we were going to use the campaign to influence, and at all levels of government and communities and things like that. How important do you think it was to act really early on that and build that campaign through kind of 2023, and obviously still ongoing now? Threats to Dundee pools, for example.
I think it probably was this time of year, wasn't it, that we launched that campaign, the lobbying work we started, and it was probably maybe about 2-3 weeks, maybe a wee bit earlier than that. You begin to get the signals of no, we need to move quickly in this. You could just tell something was brewing from the way things were going in. And as we all know, we can't do a lot if we don't have swimming pools. Yes, there's outdoor water we can use, but that only covers so many, particularly when you try to teach people to learn to swim. So it was vitally important to get in amongst that, and I suppose the messaging is hopefully is clearly understood now, and that swimming, that whole activity transcends sport in itself. We talk about safety as one thing, we talk about the health and well-being of the nation, and it genuinely can reach all ages, all abilities, and good load of number of disabilities as well from that. The benefits of being involved in that kind of aquatic spaces is good for the health and well-being of the nation. So all the noises around swimming pools cost money, but look how much money they can actually save from a social and community good. And I have used this language in different forums before, and I've heard others say it, not just me, but the sport and leisure sector is vital to the health of the community. Various different sports are involved in that, but you need infrastructure to do it, and it's always cost. Libraries cost, museums cost, leisure centres have always cost, swimming pools have also cost, but the benefit to communities, absolutely, undeniably important. And I suppose I always think it's quite encouraging when two particular communities stood up quite strongly to threats of pools being closed, and that's way beyond the reach of our membership, which says all we need to know about the reach of our sport and its importance. You're talking about numbers of over 8,000 people saying, no, keep our pool open, please. So I feel we're getting the narrative right in around the health and well-being of the nation, as well as it is for what it could be, whether it's safety, whether it be community, whether it be health, whether it be mental health, all included in the same space, or whether it just be for sport reasons alone. Of that, going back to that point I talked about earlier on before, is we do have top performers in this country. We do well. Scotland as a country performs very well at that high stage. All of that happens through the venues in our country. So we need to do all we can to keep them open. So hugely important, Charlie, and I think it feels like I'm rabbiting on a bit here, but through all of that, you're continually pushing. You're speaking to, trying to get in front of the First Minister. You're speaking to loads of MSPs. You're speaking to local councillors. And I don't think there's any one of them cross-party. This is as well as said, no, we don't understand what you're talking about. We recognise the value of the swimming pools. I get there's frustrations around making that decision to invest, because it's not about the local decisions are forced by national government decisions likewise. So that's where our direction of travel has been pushed on to the Holyrood, to say you need to invest in this infrastructure so that local councillors don't need to make a decision around whether they're keeping it pool open or not. But the one thing that always struck me was wasn't this recent budget, but one of the more recent budget announcements is one of the opposition party members said, and this is at a UK level, came out and said in their immediate response, they mentioned swimming pools. Thinking that doesn't happen by accident if you're not drip, talking about the value of swimming pools to communities. So hats off to, I would say, Charlie, you've been involved in this directly as well from some of the social media campaign and stuff, but particularly the market and comms team for driving some of this. And likewise, that's fine, well and good, but the sport's got to respond to it. I think they have, so welcome it, and we've got to keep doing more.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's been obviously a push for us all over the past, how long is it now? Over nearly 2 years since it was launched. So, and I just echo what you say. I think in terms of all the work we do, this seems like one of those things that it goes beyond our membership, and it goes beyond just our kind of the aquatic circle. It's kids going to swimming lessons. It's their grannies who love going for a swim twice a week or whatever it is. And actually, like, the threat to Bucksburn Pool, for example, that closed down.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the number of people that responded, it was people talking about their actual experiences. And that's really what you're trying to save, isn't it? It's not the pool itself, it's the bit actually that happens in the pool. And that's really the challenge that we face, isn't it? And continue to face. So it's good actually that the campaign has been received so well, and it kind of just highlights all these stories. And that's what we're trying to do, in the marketing team, but also wider Scottish swimming as well. So it's great that continues to happen.
And we all remember or most of us will probably remember our first wee dip into a swimming pool at some point. I mean, it's that's a memory that lasts you for a long while. That, and I mean, knows that you know a bit about my background. I mean, I was involved in club swimming at a very young age, and then but that opened up the opportunity for me to do other things. So I've been involved in, slalom canoeing was my thing, but I wouldn't have been able to do any of that with any great confidence with all the skills I learnt splashing about in the pool and learn to swim. So it leads to so many other things as well. It's just a brilliant sport to be involved in. So
just kind of, I know, we spoke about sort of challenges there and coming out of them and developing, but actually there has been a lot of positivity in your time as well. Got a bit of a while to get to that point, but there's been kind of in all areas and all ends of your kind of sphere of influence. Learn to swim has developed really, really well. There's continual growth in terms of the amount of kids going through the pathway, and that relationship with Scottish Water is really strong. But then also at the other end, we've got our performance swimmers and divers as well that continue to do really, really well. And I think every kind of major meet since COVID, Tokyo 2021, Birmingham 2022, and Paris 2024, there's been really strong, Scottish selections and performances as well. How kind of glad are you to see that sort of in both ends, so in terms of learning to swim and then transferring through to that top end of the sport, because as you say, it's all connected as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it's it never ceases to amaze me about the passion that comes through from Tony and Duncan in particular as ambassadors of that learn to swim framework and programme, and again, Scottish Water have been with us, and they're quite happy. Look at being with us for 10 years, which is quite something considering all that we've been through. I think there's an organisation that absolutely, and they've been through, absolutely understands and gets the message. But when you've got some of the top performers in the world quite passionately talking about the importance of learning to swim and the difference that it makes to people's lives outside of clubs and the difference it's made to them, it's just a fantastic. It's not just a fantastic message; it's an important message. It's believable, it's doable. It's Scotland's got a lot of good things to offer, but that's, I said it many times before, that's all the good work that goes on in the clubs, and all the good work that goes on from the volunteers and all the good work that goes on from the coaches. That's what's making the real positive experiences for all of that to happen. The strength of our partnerships, again, from that learn to swim point of view, I mean, it would be through the challenging times. We all know the challenges that local authorities are having, and with them, their leisure trusts. But they're all continuing to say, no, we're sticking with this because it's the right thing to do. Also makes a difference to people who want to be involved in it. So you connect the two together, or the three together, and you're in a pretty solid place. And some of my more kind of favorite moments is when you see we've got those clubs that have won it. It's a hotly contested award every year, is the Club of the Year award, and strongly with that against the Learn to Swim Provider of the Year award. And it really means something to the clubs, really means something to the providers. So in celebration of these things, those of the experience that we often connect up an athlete, visit to the club. And I always just think it's fascinating when you see how fantastically our athletes can represent themselves and us, and all the good things about the sport, but also the reaction from the clubs, that whether that be the coaches, the masters standing at the side watching either some of the demos or the interactions between the youngsters and some Olympic and world medalists or team members, and I just think it's just so strong to see. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. You talk about role models. You just talk about genuine people having good, honest conversations about what it means to them to be involved in it, and it's so relatable. And we've had some, through all those times, we've had some shifts in the staff team, and it's you could argue I'm being 5.5 years in and still relatively new into the whole thing, but we've got some members of the team who are younger than I am in the team structure. When they get a chance to witness this, having come from other sports, I always think it's quite fascinating that the reaction is wholeheartedly it's surprised but really positive. And I'll go back to that bit I said at the start of, you can't take any of this for granted. This doesn't happen everywhere, and it's again, it's the environment so we all make that allows these things to flourish. So it's just good. Just really good.
You've kind of touched on it there in terms of moments, but just, is there one that stands out to you over your kind of 5 years of Scottish swimming that you've particularly enjoyed, or has kind of, rounded up or reflects, your time at Scottish swimming the best?
There's a hard one. There are quite a lot of different guys.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I suppose probably there's some funny wee ones as well. Maybe, but also it's natural to kind of default to some of the bigger events you've been to, and equally, I suppose, as you look at some of the medal winning performances, and you look at some of the, I suppose, the team behind the team responses to things that happened in at Birmingham Commonwealth Games and the rest of these things. They're fantastic moments in themselves because it's just such a great environment. It's the wee stories that come from there always puts a smile on your face. But there's also, I do think some of my things that stick out about my time, and I'm going to, I suppose, reflect back on those in Scottish swimming themselves, and I think there's been some pretty good moments that we've had as a team, and it's just nice at various points to sit back and look at all the hard workers in there, and all the hard effort they put in to support the sport, and when you see them enjoying themselves at the awards. And I do think the awards night is probably one of the bigger highlights for me, I think, of any year, because that to me, I was quite taken aback the first one. I mean, I heard about these things before from different sports, and I remember going to the first one going, okay, they get a good attendance and the rest. And I thought, this is quite a thing. It's quite a thing from a presentation, quite a thing from an occasion, quite a thing from the attendance. I mean, all walks again. I mean, that proper celebration of, it's easy to defer back to the performances, and boy, have we got some good ones of them every single year to celebrate. But when you start going in amongst some of the volunteers and coaches and special moments of the year, I think they're great nights, and I think they're probably my outstanding highlights, I think, of the whole time. And again, it's the sort of thing I'm maybe not so much this year because of the proximity to Olympics, but I think it's fascinating when you've got your top performers in the world coming across to your Scottish Swimming Awards and rubbing shoulders with many other people. It's a good celebration. People want to celebrate, and I'll go back to that team thing, though. I do think we talk about one team in the organisation, and that comes strongly through that occasion. I think it's nice to see that. And as a word that I've used with some of the many volunteers who've asked me, what's your impression of the sport? What's the impression of the sport? It does generally feel to me like it's more than that. It feels like a big family, a proper big family across. I don't mean just swimming. I mean the whole thing. You go to any one of the disciplines, it feels like a proper family to be a part of. So I'm going to miss that for sure.
Yeah.
But my one wee memory, I thought, this is brilliant. I do quite like these things. These things that stick. And there's loads. But this one sticks in mind. I think it was not too long after, going back to some of the other conversations. I think we were up in Aberdeen. It might have been the summer meeting or something that was packed. Loads of people in there. Loads of parents in there, and I was just standing at the back having a wee quick 5 minutes of myself watching some of the action, and there was two parents in there, and they just started chatting away, and then they started going on about, it was a really good event, but it'd be nice if we did a bit more of this, and it'd be nice if the music was a bit, it'd be nice if we changed the tunes, and then it'd be really good if we just do these things. And I think chatting away for a good while, it was fascinating. Lots of fantastic observations. Not all great. There were some critical ones in there which you do acknowledge and take on, but it was one of the young ambassadors came across and who knew them and said, you're speaking to a member of the organisation there, so I had to explain who I was, and I'm not that sort of person who goes on, I'm just Euan, who spoke to him, just Euan, just do a job.
Yeah.
When they realised that, they were absolutely mortified and embarrassed and trying to apologise. Listen, this is what we need to hear, and this is what I like about the sport, the freedom to speak in that kind of way, and we're all working together. It was just a nice wee moment that sticks in my mind about the importance of that family feel. I think of feel free to chat, and we'll try and move things forward where we can. It's brilliant.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's a reflection of you as well, because I know that's actually what you're like. You don't go around saying, "Oh, I'm the CEO" or anything. You do just go and chat to people. So it's quite funny that they were so kind of open like that, and happy just to chat to you. And then when they found out who you were, it's pretty funny. But
big red faces, apologise and all the rest of it. Try to take things back. No,
you're sitting there writing it down, going, "No, can you repeat that?" But I guess just lastly, Euan, just while I've got you, mentioned at the start, been here 5 years, and you kind of spoke about why you took on the job and why you wanted to come into Scottish swimming, what you wanted to achieve. 5 years on, and looking back, are you pretty happy with what you've managed to do, and the kind of influence you've managed to have, given the kind of uniquely challenging kind of situations that you've had to deal with and things?
You said it then, you just highlighted this isn't about me. It's about I've just got a role to do like everybody else does in the organisation.
Mm-hmm.
I get benefit of being paid for doing what I do, but the roles that everybody's got and all sorts of capacities through the clubs, we've all got a job in this. And I suppose you've heard me say this before with the team, Charlie. I'm just, my focus has always been trying to find the right environments and create the right environments for people to excel and find the space for them to move in, to grow into.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think we have done that, and I think collectively we've done that. So, in answer to your question, I think it feels to me like we've moved quite a lot on. Certainly, the responses that we get back, you can only, from my point of view, reflect on how others see you, and certainly the feedback we get back from partners, the responses we've had from whether that be Aquatics, GB, Sports Scotland, or local authority partners. They want to be with us and they want to grow with us. And I think from an ambition point of view, I think it comes through in spades as that collective. And, how we move things forward, I like to think we have. But forever you get frustrated around, there's always more to do, there's always more to do, there's always more to do. And it honestly just feels like, I said earlier on, that we've not all of it's behind us, but memberships, definitely pre-COVID levels. We've got representation at a number of different sports going well. We've got, plans developing for sports. We've mentioned before around young ambassadors. We mentioned before around Aquamark and what it's doing. We mentioned before, not touched on that actually, is in amongst some of the strides we've made in around the safe sport, wellbeing, athlete voice piece, which we're now getting closer to. All important things around what's important for us and how we want to present ourselves. So I think that collectively, I think we've achieved quite a lot, and from a very troubled start. But ambition is there, we always want to do more. And that's the thing I'm going to feel a little bit frustrated about. It just feels like we're getting going.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to keep cracking on. But anyway, made my choice.
No, I know. I think it's a nice way to wrap up, Euan, but it just reflects how much, continually goes on, and there's always so much you can do, but definitely a lot's changed in 5 years and a lot of progress made as well. So thank you very much for coming on and for your 5 years as well. And hopefully you enjoy a little bit of rest over the coming months. You definitely deserve it.
I will do. Thank you. And like I said, a bigger thanks to everybody that makes it genuinely happen. It's all the work that was on the clubs, volunteers, coaches, mums and dads. It's and I will say to our team at Sports Scotland and missing out some of our supporters from particularly Scottish Water and our Leisure Trust local authorities. It's a big old thing that everybody's seeing positively, I think, and long may that continue. So just thanks everybody for your support and helping me through my time of 5 years. And hopefully you'll. I don't think it'll be that far away. Hopefully we'll come back into an event or two to go and look and I'd really, really like to do that. I don't think I'll be that far away from the sport now, that's for sure.
No, I'm sure you won't. Sure you won't. You'll be a familiar face on poolside. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much, Ian. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us in the last episode of the year. We hope you've enjoyed all the content we've put out over 2024. To catch up on previous episodes, check out our Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube channel. Until next time, thank you.